We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Rants with Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and I'm just asking questions, especially when it comes to Elon Musk. Now, because a lot of people that have been championing Musk, calling him a hero, are now coming into question over this H-1B policy, which to me, it's a non-issue. But it's a non-issue in the sense that it's already being occurring for a long time. And really, the reason it's being put into the forefront is because no matter who is in power, and I think this is something that we have to come to a realization on, there is a consolidation of power, okay, through the homogenation of private businesses and not only multiple government entities, but ultimately multiple governments, okay, state-run governments, entities. Now, a great example might be the good old COVID 1984 nightmare. And I want to be careful because I don't want to be pulled off the air. But you have Redfield now talking about some of the U.S. lab origins that we've talked about. Well, it's all right because you have the nation states of the United States involved and China. And then you have things like their military institutions working with EcoHealth Alliance and others. Homogenation, okay? And they're normalizing that on every level, and technology is also a part of that. The bottom line is that, first of all, many of the things that are being discussed, especially when we're talking about SpaceX and space travel, all right, that's there as a fairy tale for a lot of reasons. Now, I'm probably going to do a separate broadcast on the drone issue. In fact, we might make that an AMA. But the drone issue in a lot of ways, and we're going to play this Mark Andreessen clip that also kind of breaks it down, all right, is almost the same issue. Because although you have this homogenation, right, of private companies and governments and a multitude of technologies and nation states with drones, right, it's still being held back from the public successfully. Not just the United States public, but the global public. And clearly, people within the military-industrial complex and beyond know what's going on, and those entities that are doing it, right? And that's because they've walled off technology, and they're able to lie to our faces constantly. That's a big problem, right? So I'm going to play the Mark Andreessen clip of that. And when we talk about Mars, one of the big problems I've had with Musk, not only just because he's, a defense contractor, in so many ways a front man, period. Okay? I don't think that can be really overstated, how much he can't be running all of these companies. And just surface level, he's still on the climate change train. He's on the digital coin train and app train. He's on the surveillance and biometric train. He's on the brain chip train. He's on the surveillance train via Starlink and its subsidiaries. Okay, he's running the spy network. He's on all those trains. We'll get into it. All right, but in particular, he's also selling you a Mars fantasy. And this is a clip from, I want to say 2021 on the Lex Friedman show, where he's talking about democracy, direct democracy, okay, which is a bad idea. That's what really does separate us in this country. It's not just the states and states' rights. It's the Constitution and Bill of Rights and amendments, and the fact that it has to go beyond a democratic vote in the institutions. Now, we do have representative democracy, which he talks about, but, a 51-49 or a 50 and change, 49 change situation is a very dangerous one, because the things that can come into fruition are extremely troubling. We've already seen, just through incrementalism and lawfare, how badly things have gotten, not in just this country, but in westernized nations everywhere. Okay? So we're going to play this clip of the Musketeer right here, the old Muskington. And here he's talking about direct democracy on Mars. We're going to pick that apart.
It would be a new frontier and an opportunity to rethink the whole nature of government, just as was done in the creation of the United States. So, I would suggest having direct democracy, like people vote directly on things, as opposed to representative democracy. So, representative democracy, I think, is too subject to special interests and, a coercion of the politicians and that kind of thing. So I'd recommend that there's just direct democracy. People vote on laws, the population votes on laws themselves, and then the laws must be short enough that people can understand them.
We had meetings.
Okay, so now let's break that down, because it sounds reasonable. First of all, it's total lunacy to think we're going to have any kind of government system on Mars, because we're not going to Mars. We're certainly not colonizing Mars as a species in my lifetime. And we're talking generations before that could possibly be a reality on so many levels, given what we know and understand, just on a peripheral, like hobbyist level that I know. It's just not a real thing. Okay? So what's he really doing? He's setting a political narrative. Okay? And you got to understand this future that's pushing, whether it's Democrat, Republican, whatever political party globally, is AI technopolies. All right? Government, corporate, all alike. And that is in large part by shutting off competition. And I'm going to get into that in a moment. But I wanted to play this clip. We're going to have a little fun here, because it's good stuff right here, of Jim Gaffigan. Okay? I like to laugh. I hope you guys like to laugh too. And by the way, before we get to Gaffigan, let's get the thumbs up, subscribe, share. Let everybody know about the broadcast, ring the bell, and please, the links are down below. Please consider the Buy Me a Coffee. Again, we're back to a smaller format where we're going to do these shorter videos. So this one's probably going to be a little while, I'm not going to lie. And, again, we're trying to rebuild. I really like doing the interview shows. Who knows where all those go? In fact, I don't think they get seen enough. It's really frustrating. I get some huge names. I have big, interesting conversations. And the thing is, the same way Andreessen later is going to talk about the Waldorf physics, okay, and now AI, they've done the same thing with social media, because it's all intelligence run. So there is no meritocracy. The chance for organic growth on an X or all that other stuff. Remember, he just removed a bunch of the the blue check mark. So I'm going to get into X as a platform in a minute. But while we're still on Mars, let's let Jim Gaffigan here tell it like it is.
I'm convinced technology is making us delusional. The way everyone talks about going to Mars now, it's like, we're going to Mars, we're going to Mars, I can't wait to go to Mars. I don't think they were talking about you. Why do you think you're going to Mars? You haven't been to Minnesota. They weren't inviting us. I'm pretty sure they were just bragging. Jeff Bezos did take his brother to outer space. I have 3 brothers, and I don't even want to buy them dinner. I appreciate the optimism, but are we going to Mars? We put a man on the moon 54 years ago. And you know how many times we put a man on the moon after that? 0. You know why? Because we never put a man on the moon. I don't know. Maybe we put a man on the moon. I don't know. Maybe we're going to Mars. Honestly, I don't know how a microwave works. Like if someone put a gun to my head and they're like, explain the microwave, I'd be like, a light turns on, it rotates. When the bell rings, your hot dog's done. Is that close?
Now, he does a callback, and I'm not here to debate the moon landings. All right? But, and by the way, we went several times to the moon. We did the fly around before the first time we landed on Christmas Eve, where we also broadcast that fly around the moon. Just want to point that out. Also, they're telling you all these things. Now, Gaffigan's one of the few people like poking fun at this. It is delusional, but they're selling you on a post-truth world. They're selling you on a virtual reality in so many ways because they've walled technology off. Now, I want to point this out because it needs to be discussed. I haven't seen it really discussed almost anywhere. NASA makes discovery as important as gravity about Earth and possibly life on other planets. Now, it was this summer that NASA, the same company involved with DARPA and all these other projects, and they'll tell you they don't do classified programs. They're part of the Defense Department, folks. Like, it's a pseudo agency. It's a mask. You know, them and DARPA, they're the ones that brought Google up. Let me show you their AI connection, Google and NASA. But they're admitting now in 2024 there's a new electromagnetic spectrum. Okay, that's just as fundamental as Earth's gravity and magnetic fields. Okay? The ambipolar electric field. That's just now. So listen, there's no settled science on this. They've lied to us for years. We can only imagine. All right? So I want to also, point out space travel's tough. The ISS, which is roughly, I think, 400 miles away from the Earth. The moon supposedly 250,000 in that marker, everybody. 250,400. 250,400. They're talking maybe February they're going to be able to get these people. Space travel is hard. When it involves human beings, it's that much harder. Polaris Dawn just happened. We talked about the moon. They just launched 4 humans, supposedly, and the Red Dragon supposedly went past the Van Allen radiation belts. I think they got to a peak of 1,100 feet or 1,100 miles. Again, just about 249,000 miles short of the moon. Forget about Mars. And they got commercials telling you you're going to go to Mars, okay? So Google, I talk about this a lot, but they're selling you on a fantasy land. We're all being sold on fantasy land. And quantum computing and AI is a big part of that because they're selling you on the multiverse, right? Now, I keep telling people that whatever they're doing with quantum computing and what they're tapping into, I do not believe that there are infinite universes playing out in the multiverse. I think that diverts away from our physical being, which, look, I understand that David Icke has written books about the simulation, et cetera, et cetera. Musk's also promoting that simulation theory. Now, I don't think that we understand the true nature of reality, but I think this is base reality. okay? And once you start subverting that, then what is the difference between, if everything is possible and probable, now you can tap into that through AI, through VR, right? You've disassociated yourself with reality. So they're constantly promoting this. This is a new one, but they've been doing it for over a decade. I've played those videos. We're not going to play them today. I keep trying to explain that when you're talking about the Defense Department and national intelligence, all right, AI openly in their white papers the past several decades has been the tool they knew they needed to most utilize. So that is what this quantum computing is, the Quantum Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. All right, this is the partnership with NASA, period. Okay, period. This is it. Now I'm going to play this Mark Andreessen clip, but before I do want to give the Musker due a little bit of credit. Now, as you know, I've been advocating to make Twitter a free speech platform. And remember, apparently a bunch of people, not apparently, I've seen it. Cassandra, I think it's McDonald now. I'm pretty sure it might be something different. She got her blue check mark pulled. I'm not sure if Loomer did, but she got her subscribers pulled. You can love these people, hate these people, it doesn't matter. They flipped the script on these things where you now have to pay on every social media platform to not compete in a meritocracy anymore. And they used to need you to come to the platform so they could make money and encourage you to make money through them and share it. It's not how it works anymore. They've been picking winners and losers for a long time, and they're the same. Google's the same company. You understand? It's a tool of warfare. So again, I'm giving them credit. And why is that? Look at the thing. Now, this is a repost, but that person just reposted it. Okay? See, this is a repost. And again, you see the retweet. Rob Dew, there he is, 1 minute. So again, a repost, but from 11, another repost 4. So if you're catching what I'm telling you here, basically, here's 2 minutes. I don't know if I'm seeing everybody's tweets, but it feels like now the following tab is actually in numeric order, like I've asked, based on, there's Jonesy tweeting a couple minutes ago, et cetera. So this is a huge improvement. Now, I don't know if they're still cutting people out of my feed that I follow, but I am seeing a bunch of people that maybe I normally would not see in my feed, okay? And this is how 4 minutes ago, this numeric way, it refreshes content. It is what I want, okay? So kudos to them. I always give credit where credit is due. Now, let's show this clip of Mark Andreessen talking about the walling off of technology, okay? And especially in the case of not only, all right, artificial intelligence now, but physics. So in other words, weapon systems, propulsion systems, you name it. Okay, decade upon decade ago. So let's do it. Let's play some Andreessen.
We had meetings in D.C. in May where we talked to them about this, and the meetings were absolutely horrifying, and we came out basically deciding we had to endorse Trump.
What did you hear in those meetings?
AI is a technology basically that the government is going to completely control. This is not going to be a startup thing. They actually said flat out to us, don't do AI startups. Like don't fund AI startups. It's not something that we're going to allow to happen. They're not going to be allowed to exist. There's no point. They basically said AI is going to be a game of 2 or 3 big companies working closely with the government, and we're going to basically wrap them in a, I'm paraphrasing, but we're going to basically wrap them in a government cocoon. We're going to protect them from competition. We're going to control them, and we're going to dictate what they do. And then I said, I don't understand how you're going to lock this down so much, because like the math for, AI is like out there and it's being taught everywhere. And, they literally said, during the Cold War, we classified entire areas of physics and took them out of the research community, and like entire branches of physics basically went dark and didn't proceed. And that if we decide we need to, we're going to do the same thing to the math underneath AI.
Wow.
And I said, I've just learned 2 very important things. Because I wasn't aware of the former, and I wasn't aware that you were, even conceiving of doing it to the latter.
It's programmed. It's control. It's all that. That's why, no matter how human-like they make this stuff, You have to understand it's always programmed with an agenda, and it's never going to be sentient. That's a whole nother discussion about this. And quite frankly, okay, you want to go talk H-1B or whatever. This is the battle for humanity, everybody. And, you know, one of the things that Musk has been talking about is basically in these companies where he is doing classified work, he can't hire these people. But again, they want to bring that integration in. They want more people from India and China, et cetera, to be able to work on these projects. And that is part of it. But the larger thing is to normalize all of it, make no mistake. All right, but the normalization isn't like bringing citizens in to take your jobs. The normalization is the globalization and centralization of power through sub-agencies, what appear to be corporations, digital currencies, blockchain technology, all that stuff, okay? And there's a bunch of Mars stuff that I still want to get into because really the illusion that we're going to Mars actually sets up a lot. Nanobot technology, surveillance technology. We're going to show you that in a minute, okay? In fact, should we do the Mars nanosensors? Yeah, I think so. So let's look at, and the World Economic Forum also very involved in Mars, right? Like that's another big thing. What do you mean? World Economic Forum? Oh, NASA is looking for volunteers to practice living on Mars. Now, these people damn well know no one's living on Mars. That's not real. It's just, I mean, when you see stuff like that, yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe that's even a real picture. That's a simulation. You're going to find NASA facilities like that more than likely in the ocean, actually. All right? Because NASA's doing a lot of things outside of space exploration. Okay? Just point that out. And, you know, when you see the good people here, you know, let's bring it down a little bit. Okay, so first of all, they're going to put them in a simulation. All right? So now they get to build these simulated sets, and they have people there. They're going to use 3D printing technology. Again, all imagination. No one's going to Mars. You know, they talk about the spacewalk stuff. They already have the tanks for that. Okay? And now the scientific research is what we're really talking about. Because it's a cover for everything. Physicality, mental fatigue. Yeah, no, they're going to run some like MK Ultra experiments on these volunteers. Like, I think a lot of that happened with NASA, you know? So, you look at this stuff. It tells you they're preparing for a human mission to Mars. No one's going in the 2030s. The rocket technology, I'm skeptical that we've even been there via rocket technology, even as a remotely. Now, I'm not saying that the stuff that they've sent back and the photographs are fake. I'm highly suspect of the propulsion systems used, navigation tools, etc. That's all I'm saying. Now, here you're going to have, I think this is from 2016. I think he's like the chief of NASA at the time, talking about openly how robot surveillance is going to be the first thing on Mars. And that's a ways away.
You've got to be thinking 30, 40, 50 years out. And Andy is absolutely right. And I tell people all the time, the very first things on the surface of Mars are going to be robots. Right. You know, think about what we do for American forces today around the world. We don't send soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines often into a very hot area first. We try to get in and make the environment safe for them using
usually
robots or whatever.
Send missiles in
yeah,
first.
but we're actually, I imagine there's going to be a fleet of robots, maybe humanoid. They don't have to look like humans. They're going to establish the habitat. They're going to go in because with 3D printing, We can put a fleet of robots on the surface of Mars. We may find, based on what we know about the radiation environment, that we want to go underground rather than, have huts on the surface that get blown away in the wind that doesn't exist. But that was a critical part. I tell my wife, it's a movie, okay? Very, very important part. But it may be that robots dig under, go subterranean and establish the habitat. Anybody ever do, build houses for charitable reasons? You don't go there, and there are no 2x4s on the lot. There are prefab structures, so you get eaves and walls, and that's what we're going to do on Mars. But we're going to print it, I think.
Also, we're going to print it, and we're going to use robots. Okay? Now, I want to go back to the World Economic Forum. They made this video right here. Okay? All about the way that the pandemic was going to reshape your life in the long term for good times. Okay? And I want to, in particular, show you what NASA was involved in. And then we're going to go down the line, on some Muskernut stuff for sure. Thumbs it up, subscribe, share, ring the bell if you can. Support down below. There's the Buy Me a Coffee link. You're reading it. Follow me over on the Musker-Do platform. But again, it's not like Musk put up $44 billion. There were investors. You see the Yacarino of the WEF, very involved, etc. So let's just show this. Now, remember, it was all about reimagining everything. And look, when you talk about the home working, a lot of those jobs are going to be gone. They're about to cut a lot of at least the government bloat, as they should. Now, the QR codes haven't gone anywhere. They're everywhere. The 15-minute spaces, very European. I tell you what, watched this guy in China the other day. Last night, actually. What was it? I think Bankrupt and Bald is his name. People should go watch that. All right? China's pretty wild. And that's, this is what they want. Now, we haven't seen NASA yet. Again, this is about restriction of movement. This is about micromanaging everything. Yay, delivery services, yay. Here it is right here. So we talk about NASA. Well, they've developed awesome technology that will identify you from your heartbeat when they can't use facial recognition. Okay? Because your heartbeat is just as unique as your face. And NASA invented a system that can ID you with a heartbeat using a laser. Aren't they the best? AI is going to teach your kids, by the way. All right. The other thing is for the public, if they're able to pull it off and tell you that we've been there, what they really plan on doing is sending nanobots there and then and maybe they don't even have to do that, right? And then virtually creating it. And listen, you could just virtually go to Mars whenever you want. Just trust us that we've been there. In fact, the chief scientist of NASA, that's how we're going to close out the Mars bit and then move on. This is Dennis Bushnell discussing the reality of Mars. Okay? Remember, he just retired a couple years ago. We often talk about Bushnell here because he's a lead transhumanist. He's written a lot of white papers on this. Seemed to have a crystal ball for the last 25 years. We're in 2025 now, baby. It ain't future strategic warfare. It's current strategic warfare. But here's where the big reveal from NASA's chief scientist is. We're not going to Mars. We'll virtually let you go to Mars. Come on.
And you were talking about robot exploration, and I'd mentioned Ray Kurzweil to you, and you'd said that he'd spoken at NASA. And to me, the way that you described robots almost as kind of like the children of mankind really stuck with me, and it put what we're doing on Mars right now in a new perspective for me.
Well, that quote, robots being the children of mankind, is actually from Hans Moravec from Carnegie Mellon. He has various books on this. Robot is one of them from the early OOs, as I remember. And the idea is that we are currently becoming cyborgs at a very fast rate. The IBM Blue Brain project, which is nanosectioning the neocortex and replicating it in silicon, has made such good progress that they are claiming in 12 to 15 years they will be able to market a biomimetic human-level machine intelligence. The nano functionalization of robots is continuing apace very rapidly. So there's no reason why in the 10, 20 year, 15 to 25 year out, that exploration can't be done very well with robots at a cost which has been estimated at about 1/1000th that of sending humans. So one way to do this exploration of Mars and so forth is three ways. Three stages. One is to send the nano robots and instrument the planet and send back the data. And the Brits demonstrated 5 senses virtual reality, haptic, taste, touch, smell, sight, and sound recently. So everyone could explore Mars anytime they wanted to at 1/1000th the cost of sending people.
So remember, he's telling you right there about virtual reality and 5 cents. And at the end of the day, they want to sell you on the idea that you can upload your consciousness, which really means euthanize yourself. Okay? All right. And remember, Musk is a part of that movement as well. It's not just transhumanism. It's post-humanism. All right. So let's just go down the line here on, some of these, I think, super important, in your face, just threads that most people don't want to talk about. So look, when we talk about Moderna and DARPA, and you'll read it right there. I don't even want to say the word, okay? The therapeutics that are on their page. You get a PDF version of this, all right? This is all part of the Adept Protect program. This is the first indentation of that money, all right? Why am I bringing this up? Because when you look at all these nice little strategic collaborators here, let's bring them in to focus a little bit more. AstraZeneca, Merck, Vertex, BARDA, DARPA, Bill and Melinda Gates, Karolinka, Institute Pasteur, they're involved in it later, okay? And then Tesla gets involved in it, okay? They team up with CureVac to make the RNA microfactories for you know what, all right? Here he is, right in front of it, telling you how great it's going to be. There's the guy. He yeah! No, we are number one. We are number one. Praising Moderna. And he just happens to badongo that net worth during that time period. Right? It talks about the technology being an important product for the world. By the way, one of those interviews, we've still got the Patriot.tv show. Robert Malone, I cannot encourage people to check that out enough. Okay? So, he's rode the fence. He says a lot of things that people want to hear, but he's a defense contractor. And SpaceX and Tesla, okay, they've both taken over Boeing. It's not just SpaceX has also taken them over. I would tell people to go check out this piece by Alan McLeod. Very, very informative. Now, when we talk spy satellites, here's DARPA's own page right here, okay? DARPA.mil. And they've been launching these via SpaceX and their commercial version, which is Starlink, all right, for at least half a decade. In fact, Derek Brose has recently done a piece really showing how long the military-industrial complex and Musk have been working on programs like this together, hand in hand, and it is, more than alarming. They just tapped him to build the new classified version of satellites, okay? Even though he's launched, again, SpaceX transports the Blackjack satellites, right? They told you they're downsizing it. Whenever you hear that, they're shifting it. Okay? He's essential in the war in Ukraine still. All right? They're stuck with Elon Musk. It's not for now. It's from the very beginning. Remember, Musk is the one that was trying to pick fights with Putin when that was the cool thing to do. In fact, when you talk about this artificial skin, because that's what it is, Pentagon buying Starlink dishes Ukraine, and yeah, of course they are. All right, it's a defensive domain. This is, I mean, come on. Yeah, I mean that's what it is. This is the information skin that NASA talked about so many years ago in this clip.
Through ISS has been sort of seeding the small sat market. But you can't launch into all the different orbits from ISS. And so what we'll be able to do with our vehicle Launcher 1 is to put these satellites into other orbits. But I think what's interesting is that the U.S. is now leading a new area, which is the small satellite sector. And, we're going to see tremendous growth. The geostationary, the number of geostationary satellites getting launched into orbit isn't really growing right now. But you're going to see this huge growth in small satellite constellations over the coming years that will establish essentially a new information skin for planet Earth that helps us with navigation and communication and weather and remote sensing. And I think it'll be eventually sort of a permanent new skin around the planet. And a lot of that is being catalyzed by the work that was done inside NASA labs and now inside the National Lab at ISS.
I keep telling people, it's about the weaponization of space in most cases. But remember, they've taken the game everywhere in the military-industrial complex, whether it's technology companies. Remember the Chief AI Officer program, the CAIO program that nobody's talking about? That's what Mark Andreessen, when he's talking about the walling off of AI, it's already there. We talk about social media, military-industrial tech companies, influential companies, signature reduction. Let me say it again. Signature reduction. Exclusive inside the military secret undercover army. Right here. Laying it out on so many levels. And, when you talk about the physics and the UFO stuff, think about it. We have been lied to for so very long. Folks, we're wrapping it up. I need your support. The links are down below. That is the Buy Me a Coffee, $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. I'm not going to be able to do this without your help. We're relaunching a daily show multiple times. We're going to see if we're going to kick out that third video. I think we are still pretty early here. Maybe we'll get an AMA in. If you like that sort of thing, give me a subscribe. Go check me out on Rumble, X. Here, we posted after the fact on band.video. You want to financially support me? Rockfin is still a great way to do so. Couldn't do it without you guys. I absolutely love you. It is not about left or right. It is always about right and wrong. And we will see you all on the flip side.